GitHub API is pretty easy to talk to. api.github.com. That returns a bunch of stuff just like that. But if you go to api.github.com/users and put in a username like dpalaz, that's her, you get back all kinds of stuff. So let's see if we can do that. Let's see if we can hit that endpoint using fetch. So what I'm going to do in GitHub user, I'm going to add a new method called fetch user data. And it's going to call fetch. And it's going to fetch this. Except, notice I used a template literal. Instead of dpalaz in there, I want it to be this.props.match.params.username. That's a mouthful. How about I do this? Const username equals this.props.match.params. Get that out of there. Then that returns a promise, so I can call .then, and it gets an then receives an arrow function that will receive whatever response we got back from that API. In this case, I know it's going to be some JSON, so I can call response.json. So right this second, I'll just console log response.json. That's that's not too many parentheses. And I'll just do that as soon as this component loads. So here's an interesting thing you can do with a constructor. If you need to use one of your props in a constructor, just put props inside the argument list of the constructor. And when you call super, be sure that you call super with props. That way your props will already be set up. And you can get to them with this.props. So I'm going to call this dot fetch user data from inside my constructor. Let's see what happens. Let's go back to this page. Let's look up dstruce. Let's look at console log. Yeah, that's right. That returns a promise too. I forgot about that. Okay. If I do response.json here, I need to add another .then, unfortunately. So that'll give me my actual user data back. Console log user. I know we're going a little over. There we go. Now if I type in a different username, the constructor doesn't run again, right? So this should probably happen in component did update. So we use the same trick we used a minute ago. Or not a minute ago, it's been like an hour, but I'll put component did update in here. We know that'll receive the previous props. What I'll do is I'll check if previous props dot match dot params dot username is not equal to this dot props dot match dot params dot username. Then I'll call fetch user data again. There you go. Now it logs it each time. Now logging, that's kind of useless. Let's actually set state here. So in my constructor, I'll put this.state and put the GitHub user in here. It'll start out as an empty object. And in fetch user data, instead of console logging this, I'll call this.setState. And update the user. Just to prove this works, down here, we'll say something like this.state.user. What kind of thing do we get back from here? What's something good we get back here? I'm not console logging it anymore. Yeah, sure, we'll show the avatar. Avatar underscore URL. So how about this? Image source equals alt equals this.state.user. Is it username? Oh, it actually. What do I have here? Do I have a username or anything? Login, thank you. Does this work? There we go. So we see kind of what's happening here, kind of. Can we put it back together later if we have to? Let me copy and paste this. Let's talk real quick. All right. When this first loads, we set state with a user that's empty. Then we call fetch user data. Fetch user data gets the username out of this.props.match.params, which is there magically because of our route. Then we call fetch, and with the result, we put it in state. And then down here, we show it. So if I change users here, dpalaz, because of the component did update, it changes. What do we do? Get user data from GitHub.